This is From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Each week, Janice shares her wisdom to enlighten, educate, and advance the culture in America today. Janice Pons is a mother, author, and free thinker, and your host for our podcast this evening. Now let's join your host, Janice Pons.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. Come on in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Janice Pons. I am the host on our podcast, From Destruction to Dignity, Clinical Perspective, Spiritual Truths. Guys, we're going to dive right in. There's a lot going on. There's our flag behind us to remember that we are to pray for one another. We want to support one another. We got this election coming up. There's a lot on the line. And tonight we're going to talk about the constitutional republic, our constitutional republic, and the power of standing up. The power of standing up, because there are some that don't want us to stand up. But guys, listen, here's the bottom line. We have people on Capitol Hill who do not want America to be first. And there are dynamics that are going to be brought to the forefront and to the center before the election in November. So put your seatbelt on, tighten up. It's going to be, I hope it's not going to be a rough ride, but there's a lot going on in our country, and there are things being challenged. The gravy train is over, it's dried up, and folk are ticked off because those billions and millions of dollars that they were getting is gone. So we have our country that's at stake. We the people, we make up this constitutional republic. So what is a constitutional republic? It is, listen, it's that's what America is. A constitutional republic derives its power from the people who exercise authority by electing representatives to govern within the restraints of a supreme legal charter. It balances popular sovereignty with the rule of law. Now, see, our rule of law had been obliterated under the Obama, Biden, Harris cabal. They didn't go by any rule of law. They violated it. So what is it for? Protecting minority rights from majority tyranny through separated powers, checks and balances, and a rigid foundational constitutional. What are the key aspects of power in a constitutional republic? It includes representative authority. Citizens do not govern directly, but choose representatives to make decisions, creating a stable, moderated form of government rather than a direct democracy. Then there's constitutional supremacy. Both citizens and government officials are bound by a constitution that limits government scope, protects individual rights, and cannot be easily changed. Then there's something called separation of powers, guys. We got to understand how it's supposed to work. Separation of powers divided among independent branches, typically legislative, executive, and judicial, to prevent the concentration of authority. And the judicial has been hijacking us. It's been hijacking the whole process. Let me keep going. Then we have, in our constitutional republic, limited government. In a federal republic, powers are divided between a central government and state and local governments, restricting the scope of federal authority. Guys, one thing that's essential in a constitutional republic, it fosters stability and flexibility. The structure offers predictability through fixed terms, but allows for evolution through amendments and judicial interpretation. Now, because of voting, we, the people, have a significant role as citizens. That's why, listen, they were ramrodding these people in here illegally to cheat. We have power. That's why we need to be voting. And we need voter ID. We need to know who's voting. Because of voting, we, the people, had a significant role as citizens. It was designated that way. Citizens hold the power to control the nation's direction by electing leaders to both local and national offices. They may also participate in political interest groups to influence policy. Protection against factions by filtering the will of the people through representatives. Constitutional republics are designed to buffer against the negative effects of factions and sudden shifts in public opinion. Guys, we have checks on executive power. While a president often acts as the powerful head of state, their authority is checked. How? By the legislative body's power to make laws and the judiciary power to interpret them. And that has been hijacked. Radical judges that were appointed by Obama and Biden. It just was. Let me keep going. Guys, there's a lot going on in our nation. It's never been more important for us to take a bold stand for what is right. It's never been more important. We got to stand up. There are those who have nefarious agendas for this nation. Standing up for what is right, even when we stand alone, is a profound act of courage, integrity, and leadership. It builds self-respect. We're talking about standing up because it ties right in to our constitutional republic that is severely threatened. Never been threatened like, well, yes, it has been the Civil War, so forth and so on. But we're in 2026 now. And we've been jeopardized and compromised. So when we stand up, you got to speak up. We got to show up. It builds self-respect. It breaks the cycle of conformity, and it inspires others, often acting as a catalyst for positive change. While it may bring temporary isolation or even conflict, it is essential for maintaining ethical standards and preventing the spread of injustice. Guys, there was so much injustice going on. They were ramrodding us around COVID, all these fraudulent scams, giving it to the Somalis. They were sending it over to Africa. Guys, this stuff has been stopped. That's why they can't stand President Trump. They can't stand him. Many can't. He stopped their gravy train. Guys, there's something called courage. Courage over conformity. This is where we got to have courage. There's conformity, but true strength is refusing to compromise our values just to gain approval or follow the crowd. Gosh, I'm not like that. I'm not. And there are some that don't like me. And I've learned to handle it. I've learned that I'm not going to cave in anymore. I used to, but not anymore. All of these dynamics are involved in defining our character as a nation and as individuals, the citizens thereof. What does that involve? What would happen if we embraced taking a stand, whether against a bully or a wrong policy? Like people, that little girl in Atlanta, Lord have mercy, she got beat up. Kids are losing their lives over this bully stuff, beating each other. I see them on Facebook inflicting brain injuries on each other. Woo, it defines character and it reinforces core principles. Guys, what are your core principles? How does it affect the nation? How does it affect others around you? How does it affect your family? How does it affect your posterity? What would happen if we embrace creating change? The world often changes because individuals choose to confront injustice rather than remain bystanders. What would happen if we embraced inspiring others? I do that. It just comes out of me. Somebody inspired me. Yes, they did. Jesse Jackson inspired me back in the day when he said, I am somebody. Well, I grew up in Jim Crow. Great grandmama was a slave. Daddy was a sharecropper, born on a plantation. It was rough. Jim Crow was rough. being surrounded by the Black Panthers and the KKK, didn't know how I was going to make it. Guys, that man inspired me when he said, I am somebody. When he said, if your mind can conceive it and your heart can believe it, I know you can achieve it. Think, believe, and do. That inspired me back then. Guys, if we embrace inspiring one another and inspiring others, standing firm acts as a beacon, empowering others to break their silence and join in doing what's right. Doing what's right for America, what's right for our children. It's not right for them to have their minds accosted in schools related to all those sexual agendas where we're teaching kindergartners how to pleasure their body and telling them that there's no such thing as doing it too much in one day. And by the time they were 10 and 11, telling them what they could do with their fists related to somebody else's body. Guys, somebody else's body. That was not right. Could the dynamics that are properly pursued have a lasting impact on us and our nation? We're talking about our constitutional republic and saving it. There are those that want it to implode. Listen, while uncomfortable, acting on principles leads to long-term self-respect and contributes to a more ethical society. Imagine that ethics. My God. Listen, there was a powerful poem that was penned by my wonderful friend, Mark Lennon. He has a way with words, and it's very appropriate to end tonight. Mark Lennon penned this in a poem. Democrats have stood. They would not stand for us, which comes as no surprise. Illegals have come first, justified with lies. They would not stand for us like we'd hoped they would. There are certain things for which they've proudly stood. They stood for gender lies. The truth they still distort, for childhood mutilations and men in women's sports. They stood for 9/11 in a drastic swerve, with teachers' unions claiming we got what we deserved. They've stood for all that's evil in this land we trod. They stood and are still standing for election fraud. They've stood for killing babies, which they've framed as choice. The brutal slaughter of those babies who have no voice. They've stood for all things evil with everything they're worth, while forwarding the lie that men are giving birth. It doesn't take much thought just to understand it's those from other nations for whom the liberals stand. Wow. For illegals and Maduro, the Democrats are zany. They cried for Soleimani, and now they mourn Khomeini. Perversions, fraud, and terror. These things are not good. For murder, lies, and hate, Democrats have stood. Guys, they were advocating the dismembering, burning, and liquefying of our tiny citizens. That put blood on our hands as a nation, and God wasn't pleased. And they wanted our taxpayer dollars to pay for it. And you got the majority of 62 to 65% of Americans are Christians. And we say, we don't want it. We don't want that. We don't want our taxpayer dollars paying for that. No. So what have we looked at tonight? Our constitutional republic, and our clinical perspectives is the power of standing up. Guys, we were all over the place. I really appreciate Mark Lennon and him penning such powerful poetry. And I want to share Mark Lennon's poetry more often over here because he is absolutely amazing. He has a book. Go on his page on Facebook and follow him. And he really has something to say. Guys, we're going to keep showing up. We're going to dissect these things because we are one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all as we continue to go from, yes, destruction to dignity, clinical perspective, spiritual truths. Guys, That flag represents us. This nation represents the president. Guys, we need to be praying for each other. The enemy of our souls, our mind, our will, our emotions, our intellect, our drive, and our desires wants us to be at each other's throats, divided. Listen, one nation under God, indivisible, not divided. Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all in our constitutional republic. Guys, we're going to keep dissecting these things because it's a lot to understand. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. Reveal truth. Get it. But in all our getting, we're going to get some understanding. And that's what I'm all about. I'll see you guys next week. Good night.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Janice's mission is to provoke thought, bring awareness, and point people towards intervention when needed. As a reminder, this show is not therapy, but for educational purposes only. For more information, check out JanicePons.com or follow her on social media.